welcome to somewhere between movies and television. Wait, what are we recording?
Somewhere between film and
a film.
TV podcast.
Synonyms between movie and film.
We are your hosts.
I'm Daniel Parra.
And I'm Erwin Trejo. And
we are going to talk about Avatar: The Last Airbender, the live-action series on Netflix.
That's right.
Yes.
Thank you, Erwin, for doing the introduction.
Half of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you'll get it right one of these days. The last time you tried that was the Scream one.
And I literally yelled.
Oh, yeah, you went, ah.
Oh, man.
It's bothering me I didn't do
You know
the
what
intro.
photo I really love?
Which
It's
one?
the one where Venom is dunking on Spider-Man.
Oh,
I don't know why. Whenever our friend Dakota,
yeah.
ratioed me on Twitter
Oh,
one time, and I was
posting
like,
that.
oh, I'm so upset. But at the same time, I'm like, that's a good-ass photo.
I like the one where he goes, he will never be balling, and then he's balling in the next picture. I think that's Mario.
Mario.
Yeah, have you ever seen the one where he's holding the ball? It's on fire.
No, that sounds hilarious.
There was
though.
a GameCube ad in like 2006 or 2007, and it said, it was like I feel like I'm making half of this up, but I know for a fact there was an ad with a soccer court, like the hoop thing for goals, soccer goal post, and it had two balls, and it said like, and they were on fire, and it said it either said Mario has balls or got balls ?
Either way, I would want to hear that or see that.
You would want to hear that?
Yeah, I would love to hear Mario go, got balls.
Wow.
Wow.
So I am super excited to review Avatar: The Live Action Series. I don't know what your thoughts on it really are at all, other than some brief things, because we are a little bit late on it, but we did perfectly time it because they did just announce season 2 and 3 today.
Yes.
Which I'm assuming they're just going to adapt how the way it's formatted in the original animated series.
I'm guessing that because I've seen both animated Avatar and then the core one as well.
Right.
And I think I saw that. I think it's like a couple of years ago, so I still feel fresh from it.
Yeah.
But I guess not really fresh. But I do think for season 2 of the live action series, they're probably just gonna put seasons 2 and 3 together because a lot of that is earth bending, or just like the earth.
Well, book 3 is about fire entirely, right? And we're going to get more into this because I do want to lay out what we think of pretty much every adaptation or every original property so far.
Mm-hmm.
We are the prime age demographic for this. We grew up on this. This show started in what? 2002 through 2004, one of those years.
My dad loves this show.
He's like, he watches it like constantly, right?
Yeah, like once in a while he would just go on a binge of watching the first Avatar. My dad watches like all movies and TV shows that are on Netflix.
Like everything?
Everything. I don't know how he does it. It's insane. Like anytime I would like continue watching, and I would see like this whole list of like these random shows,
Yeah.
and I'm like, what? My dad's he's the reason why some shows are like #1 viewed right there.
Is your dad a huge Outer Banks fan?
Possibly.
Or a huge, what's that show? One Love? It just came out.
Oh,
It's like a Netflix thing. But in order to go over what we think of this, there's a whole lot of layering to go over here. So what was your first initial experience with the show? Do you remember the first time you ever watched it? The animated one.
Oh, the animated one. I loved it the first few episodes whenever I did see it on Nickelodeon. And I think it's probably because of the fact that at least when it would come on, my dad would watch it with my brother and sister as well. And then right after the episode would end, we would just like start pretending we were like benders and start throwing literally fire at one another.
You would literally throw fire?
Yeah, we would throw fire and then rocks at one another.
Splash water. Actually, Did you ever have that thing? This is how I know that this was like super impactful on like my child mind was when you'd run into like the shower and then it would drip off like your hands and you'd be like, yeah, no, I can do this.
I can do this. Comes out of the shower. I can't do this.
You're like, I'm not a waterbender.
And it's cold.
So the way it was introduced to me was my two cousins. Their names are Ashley and Janice. They would come over to my grandmother's house whenever we were younger, and they would always bring the box sets, like the volumes, like when they were first coming out, the DVDs. Oh. You remember how we originally had mentioned that like we'd both owned the SpongeBob DVDs and it would like collect like 4 episodes at a time?
Yeah.
They would bring those over, and I remember seeing like stray episodes here and there from the show, but we started it from the very beginning definitively. Whichever ones were coming out, we would sit down and watch those. And 2 things were, I was really into martial arts when I was younger, and a few of those things that led to that were Ninja Turtles, which I was obsessed with when I was like 4 years old, and Karate Kid, and then this. I forgot just how heavily integrated martial arts is into this, and if I remember correctly, each bending style is based off of a different kind of martial art.
Yes. Which
I think is displayed in the live action as well, which we'll get more into. But I do think that this is one of the best shows ever made, the animated one. It still holds up, every single thing I've seen from it. I did watch about half of it again recently, not because I was like trying to not finish it. I kind of just ended up not finishing it. I still want to though. And the difference here is I don't know why I've been so hesitant to watch Legend of Korra. I guess just because like I'd heard things about it, but I'd heard that basically the one critique that I mostly hear is that it's just not The Last Airbender, which is kind of unfair from what I understand. Mm-hmm. But if you were to compare the two, since you have seen both of them, what's really the difference there?
I think the only difference is that I think the one struggle it has is just trying to be something completely different, because it's just history repeats itself. And so I think the writers were just trying to do where it's like, how do we expand a world where you can only do like, there's only so much like limit you can have with it. And so I think early on they definitely established the fact that this character Korra is someone completely different, her own avatar from Aang. And I think the fact that a lot of people love the first character so much and they wanted to see them, and they ended up getting these new characters that aren't really established as greatly as like the animated Avatar series.
Yeah.
But my only other thing about Korra was the fact that they didn't, at least that they did a lot of time jumps, especially later on in the show. Like I remember from season 3 to season 4, they did this like huge time jump, and I don't know if it's because like I think it was like either money was an issue, like the budget, or it was like they just couldn't. I don't know. They just had to fill in there was like a lot of holes that were missing.
There's a season where it gets a lot worse, right? Like,
it doesn't get worse. It just feels like things were missing, and the fact that not things were explained as thoroughly as like a show would have.
Yeah.
Because I was looking at it earlier today. I was like, I don't remember it being short, like time wise or anything like that. But I just remember feeling like we just like so much time passed by and you didn't see the characters grow. And with the Avatar Last Airbender, you saw the characters grow throughout the show. But with Korra, it felt like you saw them at one age, then another, and then another, and you just kept jumping and jumping.
Yeah.
And so, and I think also the fact that they try to make Korra where it's like she seemed too cocky.
I'd heard that about that character, but I'd heard it like in a positive way. But then I hear sometimes people on, now keep in mind Twitter's Twitter, and it's going to have insane opinions all over the place. But I always see people either complain about Aang or about her in different ways. But then I like look at how nitpicky it is, and like, that's right, I'm currently reading the comment section of like insane people. But Aang isn't necessarily the same way. He's kind of reckless in a different way,
Yes.
though, which is just him being avoidant of
conflict.
And what he's supposed to be doing.
And I think that's the issue with Korra. At least I think from the writer's standpoint, because it's kind of hard to make, because Korra, in the world that they lived in, like everything was at peace in Korra, and so it's like, why do we need an avatar, right?
Yeah.
And so I guess seeing Korra struggling, well, it's like, why do I need to practice? Why do I need to become better if I'm the avatar?
Oh, she just gets cocky
About it, right? And so it's kind of hard to like care about the character going through it all. Like a lot of the side characters are great. Like I remember that from Korra that I really love. I'm blanking on what their names are at the moment. But over time, like throughout the show, whenever you see Korra go through those struggles, as like our main character would do, you actually do end up liking her, especially a lot.
Yeah.
So, but overall, I definitely enjoy the Avatar: The Last Airbender.
The original one.
Yeah, the original one way more than Korra.
Do you still like Korra though?
Oh no, absolutely. I think at the end of the day, I just love that world.
Yeah.
And they definitely added some more things in Korra, which I love, like just different bending styles.
Oh really?
And seeing that grows, and I did like seeing like the kids of Aang, and seeing how they would help and repair the world that Aang was trying to do as well.
Yeah.
So that was really nice.
Something I forgot about Avatar: The Last Airbender is that it is almost a perfectly fleshed out world. I say this because the live action alone reminded me of that. I watched it with my dad, the live action one, and he got it immediately. And the way I can compare this is there is one other adaptation out there.
No.
The 2010 or 2011 live action movie.
I can confirm I did see that in theaters.
I saw it in theaters too the day it came out in 3D.
Hey, me too.
Do you want to know something fun about the 3D conversion of that movie?
What?
They cut out like half an hour of that movie. That way they could rush the 3D release of it whenever 3D was super popular.
Yeah.
I remember the hype for that movie being ridiculous because, well, Avatar: The Last Airbender had just ended, I think, a couple years prior. And I think that, no disregard to animation, because animation's its own medium. It should be respected. The animated one is still its own show. And
I think the fact that the animated one looks amazing now.
It still does,
is because of... Isn't it just because it's drawings?
It's because it's drawings and it's still cell paneling. You still see the final fight with Ozai trending all the time.
I love it. I do see that fight like once a month or something.
And I watch it. Like I watch the entire thing every time, and it just makes me want to go and revisit that world entirely.
Yes.
But getting into a more... well, not more, lesser. That's not a proper phrasing. Lesser version of this... Do you remember what you think of the live action movie?
I think as a kid, I enjoyed it because it reminded me of what I saw from the show.
Yeah.
But of course, when I got older and I would watch the movie again, I was like, this isn't the same.
Yeah.
And you start to miss things from the show that they left out so much from the movie. And you're like, why isn't... And even the characters alone had no charisma, nothing about them felt like I had an urge to like care about them or anything, like just for the show. But it's just also the fact that it was a movie.
Yeah.
I can't... It's kind of hard to like sell your characters, especially like the length. Wasn't the length like less than 2 hours?
I was going to say, the thing was that movie was an hour 40. I think if you're going to adapt Avatar into a movie, it's possible, but you need to give yourself the time to make a 2.5 hour, 3 hour big feeling thing. It should feel like, I mean, I know Dune is totally different, but it should feel like that and look like that.
Yeah.
Which... my personal experience with the live action movie was the same thing. I remember enjoying it because I was 11 or however old I was. I was not even a teenager yet.
I was a sophisticated 8-year-old.
Yeah, and then and I was just like, the effects are Very well done. There's just nothing positive to say about that movie. A lot of people say it's one of the worst movies ever made, and I have to say I kind of agree. I don't call blockbusters.
Or the other one that's as bad or worse is the Dragon Ball one.
Oh, that is worse, I think.
I wasn't even like, I like Dragon Ball, but
Yeah.
I haven't seen the show or any of it. I just seen like clips or like scenes of it, and I just remember even the live action. I was just like, this looks bad. This is bad.
So I'm a fan of both.
Mm-hmm.
I like Dragon Ball Z and I like Dragon Ball Super, but I love Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh, I love Avatar: The Last Airbender.
But I will say, at least Avatar: The Last Airbender still kind of took place in the same world.
Yeah.
The Dragon Ball adaptation is on a version of current day Earth, and it just didn't make sense to do. And then I remember seeing clips of, is it Dragon Ball Evolution recently? And you're just like, none of these characters. And I think it's fine to adapt things for characters to be changed. We'll get into that because there are some things that happen in the live action show some people disagree with. Mm-hmm. And it's okay to do that, but you at least have to like follow what you're adapting. It's the same thing that early 2000s things had a huge problem doing, and that's adapting their materials. Like, that's why we had so many bad video game live action adaptations. It's why I understand why people didn't like that Uncharted movie that we reviewed. I thought it was fine. I enjoyed it.
It wasn't bad.
Followed what those are practically. And I wouldn't mind seeing another one of those, but it's not something along the lines of, is it Resident Evil?
I don't know how there's so many of those movies.
I saw exactly one of those, and it felt like a knockoff Fury Road.
My parents would watch I'm pretty sure my parents have seen all those movies. Mm-hmm. But other than that, even as a kid, I was like, I don't enjoy these movies. Like, I don't like the way it looked or anything.
I would always group those with the ones that you like.
Underworld.
Yeah.
I do enjoy Underworld. Those are my guilty pleasure ones. Or Van Helsing. I love Van Helsing.
You keep telling me to watch that. I still don't think I've seen it ever.
Oh, well, I think you'll enjoy it because it's like with, of course, literally every like monster verse.
That's awesome.
Type of character, and then Hugh Jackman's in it, and then Kate Beckinsale.
That's like those people that like League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Do you know what I'm talking about?
The one that's coming out?
No, you're thinking of the Guy Ritchie thing with Henry Cavill. It looks really good. I'm
so excited.
That trailer was awesome. Mm-hmm. We saw that in front of
Dune.
Argyle. Hey, we didn't review Argyle.
Let's not. Every time I think about that movie, I'm just disappointed and upset about it. That's fine.
It was released on digital recently, and I saw that clip again where she's like ice skating.
Yes,
and
it does not look.
All the comments were, I keep bringing up how people complain about shit on Twitter. I was like, me too. I kind of hate how this looks, and everybody else is like, this is a good concept. I remember us standing outside of the theater, like, it's a good idea.
Like, all the ideas were there, it just weren't executed strongly.
Yeah.
And especially from Matthew Vaughn, who's made like so many great movies. What makes
First Class, Kingsman? We both like Kingsman too. You really like Kingsman too.
I really like Kingsman too.
And Kick-Ass. Mm-hmm. I don't remember what I think of Kick-Ass 2.
Oh, what's that one movie? I don't know I don't think he directed that one. It's The Star. It's with what's his name?
Oh, and I love Layer Cake with Daniel Craig.
Oh, I haven't seen that one.
It's great. It's really, really good. But yeah, the action in that was, I saw a different thing saying, I don't know if I actually think Kingsman is good or if I was just a teenager when that came out, is what Argyle is making me question.
No, it's still good.
No, I still think it's good, but I get the logic of that, where you're thinking, was I wrong for liking this the entire time?
Yeah.
But back on this, we both grew up with Avatar, so I want to emphasize our feelings come from that in here. And I've heard...
We love Avatar.
We love Avatar: The Last Airbender. I also love the Blue People one, the second one, and I like the
Yeah, Avatar 2 was great.
Avatar 2 is awesome.
Yeah.
The first one I don't need to see again.
I'm tired of seeing the first Avatar. My dad loves Avatar
You
too much.
Remember
Too
when
much.
we were watching Babylon and the Avatar clip came up? I heard you go, ugh.
I'm tired of it. I'm tired of hearing about the first Avatar movie.
He wants to be a part of something bigger. And that was,
My dad too.
and that's the Na'vi. But with this, I guess I want to ask before I fully get into everything I've read from, because it is all over the map. What did you think of the live action adaptation by Netflix of Avatar: The Last Airbender?
I liked it.
Yeah.
It definitely has its issues that we'll talk about.
Yeah.
But overall, I did like it. I'm excited to see what changes that they can make through the next few seasons, and hopefully they improve from it. I wouldn't be totally upset if I still feel the same way about it the way I feel about it now. But yeah, overall right now I like it.
Do you remember what I told you where I think we're just going to think the same thing of this? It's exactly it. I was completely enamored with some of it. Some of it I thought was great. Yes. And then there were other elements of it that I thought were
nice, dude.
Hang on, I have one more joke for later.
Oh, okay. I'll wait. No, you guys tell me now.
I have to tell you now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there
if you were to be if you were to be able to bend one of the 4 elements.
Earth.
Earth?
Yeah.
Why Earth?
Because they can also lava bend and then metal bend as well.
Is that from?
Yeah, from Korra.
Okay, I figured.
Sorry. Yeah. But then I think I love Toph because out of all the characters, right? Of course I love Aang, but I think after Aang it would be Toph.
Oh, really?
And then Zuko.
Zuko's my favorite character.
Zuko's amazing.
Yeah.
That one episode in the live action series, the mask.
Yeah.
Whenever I was like, that's probably my favorite episode.
I was gonna say, do you remember how I told you that I had to pause it and I saw what episode was next, and I was like, I think that's like one of the episodes I remember the most, especially from the first. And then sure enough, it was my favorite episode of this season too. Ask me what my favorite element would be.
No, I'm okay.
Okay.
Okay, what's your favorite element?
If I were to pick any of the elements to be, I'd be a backbender.
Oh man. All right. Well, I like.
No, I'd probably be.
Nah, you're done. You're done. I don't want to hear that.
I have. Do you think about it a lot? I actually do think about it a lot. No. No, you just do it.
No. Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think I'd either really no. I always tell myself I want to do water bending because I don't know how to swim.
Well, that makes sense.
I could clear the water. Or fire, because fire is super cool, and I like how it looks when you fight people in it, especially in the live action one.
The live action, when it came to the fire aspects, it looked really nice.
Yeah.
And air and fire, waters. It looked good. Like it looked okay. The earth bending, I feel like it can still be worked on. I
thought if we're gonna talk about like positive and negative, it's honestly kind of all over the place for me.
Me too.
Because the first episode alone, I think this is rocky, but I don't think it's bad. And then by like halfway through, because they shifted the way in the order of the series works.
Yes.
They started with the genocide stuff first, wiping out all of the airbenders and actually showing it. I was kind of like, oh, are they actually going to show this? And I noticed that it was rated TV PG on Netflix, and I thought they got away with a lot more than I anticipated that they would have.
Like that one scene where I think it was Spirited Away.
Oh yeah.
That episode where they showed Korra with her mom.
Yeah, and she like gets burned alive.
Literally,
right?
After that episode ended, I was like, "What's the rating on this?" And I was like, "PG." I was like, "What did I just?" I was like, "That's like PG-13 stuff right there."
Yeah, no, I thought that it would have been TV-14 or something, but I don't know if Netflix does that. I guess they might not for their own stuff, but it's weird because I've heard so many different things about this before, like going into it.
Mm-hmm.
I'd heard, oh my god, this is as bad as the live action original. Which honestly,
That
if you're
is,
saying
yeah,
that, maybe
that is,
remind yourself
yeah.
of how bad that movie is. And I forget that like this is one of those fan bases that is just that passionate
Yes.
about the source material.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing will ever get as bad as Star Wars, but some of the conversations do remind me of Star Wars. I saw someone complain about something just as small as the Agni Kai stuff, which I thought was one of the best backstory.
Wait, somebody
sequences.
was complaining about that scene in the live action?
And they were complaining about that because they didn't like the way Ozai showed some form of emotion in his eyes or something. It was like that specific.
Oh,
And
wow.
I thought that's not what I got from that at all, though,
No.
myself. And
I love the way, I forgot the actor's name.
Daniel Day Kim,
How he...
the good doctor.
I am a surgeon. I need to
That
watch
guy.
The Good Doctor. I do. But the way he represents Ozai in the show is amazing. Because
Yeah.
I love the fact he keeps the composure. Because that's like what the main reason why Zuko
Is the way.
he is. Because he couldn't keep his composure.
Yeah.
Which isn't... I just love that so much. I'm so excited to see how Ozai does later on. But
Sure enough, my favorite part of it is my favorite part
Mhm.
of the animated show,
Mhm.
and it's Zuko and Iroh. I think that they are the best
oh,
thing about all of it.
yeah. It just reminded me, I'm like, I want to see that dynamic again, but
Yeah.
animated series, of
Yeah.
course. But they did a great job casting, I would say. At least when it comes to
Iroh
the fire,
specifically,
just like
yeah.
the fire bending people. So just all them.
Yeah,
So like Ozai, Iroh, Zuko. I like Azula
Az-
as well.
that reminded me of how young all the characters are supposed to be in
Yes.
this, because I was like, that's right, they're all like supposed to be 15, and
Yeah, some of them were like 17 or 18, but majority
Yeah.
of them are like 13, 15. Insane.
because a lot of them are new-ish to acting. I'd
Mhm.
seen the actor for Zuko in Pen 15, which that show's hilarious,
Mhm.
but I'd heard something that was a negative that I don't necessarily share, but I see where it comes from,
Mhm.
where they think that because they're new actors, they're not entirely able to sell every emotional moment.
Mhm.
And I wouldn't say I feel that sometimes. I did think that there were a couple things where I was like, well, season 2 is gonna happen. So, and
Yeah, I said the same thing too. I felt like when it came to characters like not Korra, Katara,
Katara.
there was a lot of scenes where I felt like it wasn't as strong for the scene itself happening,
Yeah.
especially when it came to her backstory with her mom,
Mhm.
and you just didn't really feel it. And I don't know if it's just, and it's just because of what she was saying, but it's just also the expression for it as well.
Yeah.
Sokka did a good job. I really like Sokka. I think the casting for Sokka, I can see that one like going further with. Aang was a hit or miss
Yeah.
for me in a lot of scenes.
I think of the 3,
Mhm.
I think Sokka's the best adapted character.
So far, yes.
Maybe it's because he's the oldest in terms of
Oh, okay.
that and
Possibly.
like acting as
Mhm.
well. And then I liked Katara. I don't think she has enough to do yet, and that's the thing about that is some of the critiques of, I can't believe that they haven't done this or they shifted this. I'd like to trust the process
Yeah.
that they would
Oh,
get
what do you mean?
to it later. I just heard like certain things about Katara and that she doesn't necessarily act the same way with the other two that she does in the animated series.
Mm.
And she's not necessarily as, I guess things do have to be changed to be less silly in a live action sense.
Mm.
I'm not saying that it shouldn't be humorless. I should add One Piece, the anime, is probably my favorite anime ever. I love it so much, and that being adapted into live action seemed almost impossible, and I love that show.
Mm-hmm.
That show is great. And I believe you liked it too.
Oh yeah, I loved it. It made me want to watch the animated series, but then I was like, over 1,000 something episodes.
It's very long, and I had a lot of free time in college. And it's worth it though.
That's what I hear. Yes.
Yeah. But then you also have to. I think that this show in particular was so stacked in terms of meeting any kind of standards anybody might have had.
Mm-hmm.
You just heard, oh my god, finally a good live action adaptation of an anime by Netflix, who's kind of notorious for doing really bad ones. And this is adapted by Netflix again, one of the most popular shows of all time, and particularly by a group of people that is the demographic for people on streaming services. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to live up to any kind of expectation. And I thought, while I do have my issues with it, I don't know if I would say it's like the best possible adaptation of it, but I would like to trust that season 2 and 3 are even more effectively well done, because I liked this. I loved parts of it. I wouldn't say there's anything I necessarily disliked. There are some things I had huge issues with that we can address in a bit, but what were your thoughts on it?
Literally the same thing. I just think that a lot of the issues that come with the show was just possibly the fact that it's just the very beginning of it, and if they learn from whatever feedback they may have been given and grow from it, it can actually go from me liking the show to loving it and reminding me how much I love this show. But I also think just because of the fact that it's just in the beginning stage right now, and once they get to the actual aspects where people really love the show, of like all that emotional turns that they have along their journey.
Well, I forgot that there's so much discussion about ideology and belief in this show. It's one of the absolute best parts of it. I'm glad that they retained all of that.
What I really loved about the live action show was when they start talking about the war aspect.
Yeah.
Right? And so how you mentioned the first episode, how they showed like the airbenders and the firebenders fighting one another and seeing like their strategy behind it, understanding that, and just seeing like the ruthlessness of the firebenders. More so, I mean, we already knew like they were just terrible people from the beginning, but just seeing that was just like, oh wow, like that's insane. Just to like literally have genocide and get rid of one element
as a major aspect of what is going on within. Yes.
And then I also love that one episode where I think they captured Uncle Iroh.
Right.
And one of the, I guess, officers was telling him like how he killed his brother.
It's one of the best parts of
It's amazing because it just shows a lot about Uncle Iroh. Like at the end, like he was just doing what he was being told to do, and he's great at it. But at the end, he's still very compassionate, and I love that so much.
I forgot that is kind of his role, is that he goes through his redemption arc before the show starts.
Yes.
And you kind of don't understand why he is the way he is for a long time up until you get to that point. I loved the adaptation of what they changed for his son's funeral and how they keep and add certain elements to the relationship with Zuko and Iroh, especially the moment where, because I'm kind of thankful I haven't seen the show in a while, because some of this stuff that's a surprise, I was like, oh, that's right. Like the backstory of why the people are on Zuko's boat, that are on his boat. I was like, that is really, really fucking creative and really emotionally impactful. And what's hard about that is to call it good writing is kind of hard because, well, the people that wrote this didn't write that necessarily.
Yeah.
But the emotions are captured really well. The actors in it, I think, are doing the absolute best. I mean, still, as always, my favorite parts of it are Zuko and Iroh. I think that they're the two best actors in it as well.
I think just with Iroh and Zuko, it's just the fact that their story in this beginning was very strong compared to Aang's right now, because even now it's just Aang still learning how to become the Avatar and all. So I hopefully in the next few seasons we get to see more of how just focusing on Aang, because I remember from the animated series that yes, like it characters about everybody, like it's just the show showed or the show had everybody their own screen time and everything, but a lot of it was about Aang and just Aang trying to find the balance from like from his world and like the spirit world as well. Yeah. And I don't know, I forgot to mention this too, but in Korra, they focused a lot in the spirit world.
Do they really?
Yeah, they expanded that as like I remember season 3 was about that, just about like different spirits and all. So
I will say, if we're gonna like get into effects, the spirit world stuff sometimes looks great, sometimes looks like the volume thing. There's one particular issue I had with that, and I think it might be because maybe it was because I was in the middle of it and then I saw Dune 2 and then I came back to it. Some of it was that thing I was talking about. It's so flat looking whenever they're like in the sky on Appa. Don't get me wrong, Appa looks great. Yes. But the background of where they're flying, sometimes, I don't want to call it bad, but it's more like, could you maybe work on that a little bit more? Yeah. But then there's stuff that looks amazing. The cities, Omashu, looks fucking ridiculous. Yeah. Yes.
No, I agree. Like Momo looks amazing. Anytime they showed Momo, I was like, okay, Momo looks great. Yeah, everything with Appa, anytime it's a widescreen with Appa, I'm like, okay, that looks amazing. Yeah. And yeah, some of the effects, the only time when it comes to the elements were really just the earth bending and sometimes the water. Yeah. But I feel like that's the one thing I'm most likely scared of too, where season 2 and 3 coming out, because they are child actors. Yeah. And so in order to keep that youthfulness in them, they're probably gonna be, recording and everything back to back. Yeah. And so I don't know if they're gonna be rushing through the effects of it, which I hope that isn't the case.
I was gonna say Stranger Things, but they all look way older than when they started.
They're like, oh no, they're in high school, even though they're now like in their 20s.
That was something that happened with the Percy Jackson show when I was watching it. The kid Walker Scobell, who plays Percy, just randomly gets older in the show, and then will get younger in like a different episode because they shot it at different times.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
And you're like, well, the show's good enough that that's fine. But
it's I wouldn't mind that, right? But as long as like what you said just now, if the show progresses in terms of its quality, then it wouldn't be bothersome whatsoever.
No, and I think that if they just worked with the kids a little bit more, and I thought that some of the acting was a little iffy, like from some of I remember thinking that she's only in the first couple episodes, but whoever Katara's grandma was
really
interesting.
I did not remember the grandma. I feel like she had little to no screen time.
It's because she was the one that got to say the opening title like of the show. Yes. So I just noticed it, and I was like, that's not how it's said, but also you can change how things are said. Yes. It's just one of those things of learn to let go of your attachment to something that you've been like in love with for so long and see what they change and accept it or not. Yeah. Like I personally loved the change to Boomy. I thought that was super smart, and I liked the idea that he was still kind of all over the place, but also kind of jealous of him for being able to keep himself away for 100 years.
Away from war?
Yes. I think that specific change ties into what they're trying to hammer home, and that's the ideology of war. I think that showing the firebending people as well and their perspective on it so often really, really adds perspective to what everyone's thinking. And then something as simple as the after effects of whenever they just visit a town and their town is ruined and they're like, nothing even happened. They just wanted to clear space and that was it. And they're like, it wasn't even an attack. I think that's a really, really smart.
Yeah. I think that's what I loved about from the animated series, but then also in the live action they just showcase a lot of Aang, his childish like qualities, but also mashing with the facts of like this is reality, this is what's happening in the world, and how much you need to take responsibility.
Yeah.
Or like we would want you to take responsibility for what's happening right now.
I will say I love that in the animated one. I really like the idea in the live action one, but I ran into an issue after a while of no sense of urgency for that.
Yes.
Because it's the entire first season, and he doesn't need to learn water bending right away if that they're gonna decide to do that differently.
Yes.
But I was confused as to why the choice was to make him constantly be like, "No, I'm good. I don't want to do it right now," and then he never does it.
That's true. I can see that. But even in the first, or like book one in the first show, or the animated one, it was like that too. Like all I remember, like Aang, all he ever did was airbending.
Yeah.
And I guess in the live action one too, and it reminded me too of how they said like, why haven't you learned any of the other elements? Yeah. And of course he goes like, well, I'm only 12. He's like, but we need you now. He's like, you need to learn the other elements. Like you can't just be doing the things that he wants to do, which is literally be a child, and that's why he like ran away and all. So
yeah,
I think that's where I am excited about the next few seasons to see him learn all the other elements again.
I just don't want everything to be one to one. Some people want that. I want you have an opportunity to expand this story and change it in different ways. And I think that there are some really great ideas in there. It does kind of do the thing a little too much that some of like the let's say Aladdin does. Like I like that live action Aladdin movie, but it could have done more for me to sort of change up or add anything, because you're allowed to do that now if you want to go back and add additional characters to expand the world or anything like that. I know that sometimes people would be averse to that idea, but I think it could work. You just need to figure out how to write something like that. Like I love
like the cabbage guy.
I like that a lot. Yeah, that's fan service, but I'm a fan. So
oh yeah, me too. Or like I didn't realize how they had that one cabbage, like my cabbage guy, as just so it was a one-time character, but people love him so much that they just added him to it. So it's like literally they did that with the animated series.
Right.
And so I'm just like what you said, if they can add something to it, something completely different, but if it works, then why not? So I agree with that.
Like the thing I think I disagree with you on is I really like how the earthbending looks sometimes. Also,
the one it's just the parts with Boomy. Whenever scene happened, it just didn't look good to me, at least.
Do you mean the initial fight where he has to like keep it above his head?
I think so. I think all that.
Yeah.
I just didn't enjoy that. I liked the first episode.
That's the one I keep thinking about.
That's what I mean when I think of something great with airbending, it's because the lighting. You didn't really see it as well, but the way it looked amazing.
That's why I complain about things looking flat so much, because it's so easy to just, well, I can't say it's so easy, but it's like easy to fix to make things look not like that like studio level quality of stuff. So whenever they're outside and in a forest, they're outside and in a forest, and you can tell. Even whenever they're mixing in those kind of like ostrich looking things that they're riding, they look well integrated in, because
even with that I forgot what it's called. I don't know what, like the anteater looking thing.
Oh,
with the assassin. That looked amazing too. Like anytime they showed like any type of animal in the show, it looked great.
It reminded me that those are really creative animal designs, and they translate really well into live action. And I forgot that the episode is literally called Spirited Away, but his design is amazing and scarier than I thought it would look.
Yeah, it definitely looked creepy.
Yeah, I'm just glad that the initial show is made for kids and, well, families, I guess. But I think that they aged it up a little bit for live action, and I liked that choice. It doesn't really remove all of the humor, I still think that Sokka is still basically the same character.
Yeah, I still think Sokka's the same. They nailed
Yeah.
Sokka for sure. As of now, Sokka, I think everyone that's great right now is amazing except for the two people is literally Katara and Aang.
Yeah.
And it's just because it's like there's certain scenes that happen where I'm like, oh, I don't know. It's not. It doesn't feel the same, or it's just because based off the acting that they do, where it just doesn't. It doesn't hit the areas that it needs for that scene.
The issue with Aang though is that he's kind of the main character.
Yeah,
you would
that is
need
true.
him.
But I just love Aang so much, where I'm like, oh my god, it's Aang.
Yeah.
So that's why I feel like I'm letting it go a little bit.
I mean, I still think that he's still the character for sure. I like to think that even without some of the moderate issues with him, if that's him doing the choreography, that actor, he's doing great.
Yes.
And
all the fight scenes were great. I do enjoy that. It's just when it came down to the emotional aspect, because what I remember a lot from the animated series, well, besides the action, it was that too. Like even as a kid, I was like, oh my gosh, that's intense.
My other thing with the action in that as well, though, is because I know book 2 is gonna like heavily get into that because of I forgot that the way. I don't even remember if the original animated series ends in the same cliffhanger that this one does, but I was like, that's right. The whole second season's about like the war and the Omashu stuff.
Yes.
And I'm really excited to see all of that. What I really, really remember is book 3, so I'm kind of debating if I should go back and watch all of it again, or if just let myself be surprised by what happens in that. I do think they'll introduce Toph earlier for sure than she was introduced.
I'm so excited for Toph. I think, did I already say Toph was my second favorite character?
You told me not on this.
Oh yeah. So yeah, my favorite characters are Aang for sure, and then Toph, and then Zuko right after.
Yeah.
Like I love Toph. I think I just love Toph because she reminds me of Aang a little bit.
Oh yeah.
But she does whatever she wants, but she also chooses to like help.
Mine are Zuko, Iroh, Toph, Aang. I don't know in what order. I just know Zuko's my favorite.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. It's weird though. Like my huge compliment to give, but also be backhanded, is that I think the action is great, but I also kind of wish that it wouldn't just end so fast sometimes.
Yeah.
Because I kind of felt that every once in a while. Like, yes, my favorite episode of this was the mask episode. And I thought, despite some of I thought a little bit wonky CGI whenever the whole bodies are moving. Whenever they're breaking Aang out of the...
Oh, yes.
It was only whenever they were like full body, and then they would like jump from a building to another building. I don't know, it was just because I was like looking at it directly, but I was like, I mean, he kind of moved a little funny, but it's fine. I'm not going to be like picky. I think the pickier I get with stuff like that is when I don't think the show or the movie's working for me. But if it's working... That makes
sense.
Yeah.
I also think... I wish it wasn't 8 episodes. I wish it was longer.
Yeah.
And it's just because from the show, I think if I remember... I don't remember if it was like... Was it like 13 episodes? Or is it...
Someone counted that season 1 of the live action adaptation of the animated one is only 12 minutes shorter than...
This one?
Yeah.
Okay. Huh. It just feels like... I think it's because of the fact that we don't see the character, like the group of them, go through the journey of just going to the north. Right? And so I think that's what lacks a lot of like connection with just the audience to them, especially just in the live action, right? And that's where me like taking away the fact that I've seen the show. That's the one part. That's the one aspect I can see where some people could struggle with, just finding that connection with the characters. Yeah. Just because it just keeps jumping, right? And it doesn't feel like you give the chance to actually like try to connect with them. That's why I really like the Spirited Away episode, because they actually stopped, made the characters like, all right, sit down and just focus on you for now.
That reminded me of the Demon Slayer movie.
Which one?
Mugen Train.
Oh yes.
Yeah, it was the same sort of like format of delivery of... I noticed that's kind of become a trope, and I wonder if there's a name for it, where characters are confronted with their worst nightmares in dream form.
Yeah.
In person, and they like have to confront their physical manifestation of it. That also happens in like Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1. It's funny I'm bringing that up again because I brought it up in the last episode, but the one whenever Ron like kills the Horcrux and like the visions he sees is literally the same thing.
Yes.
I want to look up if there's like a specific name for that trope. But I want to know if you have any additional final thoughts on anything here, and what are your overall thoughts again, and anything negative you'd like to see addressed or changed.
Overall, my thoughts are I like the show.
Yeah.
I do. Of course, it has some of the issues that I have with it. But the one things that I really hope that they improve on is just some of the acting gets better.
I agree with that.
And I really hope they take... I don't know. I really hope the next few seasons, if it's the same amount of episodes, great. But I really hope they can add a couple of more, just like the world building, like you said.
Yeah.
Because I think because the fact that we've seen the show, we're just like we're aware of the world, and especially since I remember watching Korra, and they expand on that so much more. Yeah. So I'm like, oh well, I don't really care if they do world bending or like world expanding the world and everything. But just I'm trying to understand this.
You said world bending. I was like, is that in Korra?
They just bend the world.
Yeah.
But in world, just expanding the world and everything, I really think that should be one of their main focuses as well, because that's what I really liked about the first season of the live action, of them just talking about the war, right? And just how everybody's experiences through it. And I really love that aspect. And I guess like some scenes where it just doesn't look as bad in terms of like the CGI.
We talk about emotional investment, like you were saying. I will say a good gauge of this is my dad. He did not see the animated show. I mean, he'd seen certain episodes of it just because I was a kid and it was around, and he would always be like, oh, that's the bald boy with the blue arrow. Because he liked what he'd seen of it usually, but he'd never just sat down and watched the full thing with me when I was younger. And then I like begged him to go see the live action movie when it came out.
You're a terrible son.
I remember him. He was actually like, when I showed him the trailer for this, he was like, is this that like based off that terrible movie from however long ago? I was like, no, Dad, it's the other one. And then he was like, it looks the same.
No.
And then we watched it with the first episode. He was apprehensive. He was like, I don't want to watch this if it's going to be like the movie. He literally said this.
I get
it. And then the first episode ended and he was like, another one. And he liked it after that.
Yeah.
Just trust the process, I guess.
Yeah.
And the things that he was most invested in, I know for a fact, were the Fire Nation stuff.
Yes.
He really liked Ozai and Iroh and Zuko. Those were the parts that drew him in the most, for sure. My dad has this tendency to do this thing where he needs to have his iPad open so he can stay awake through whatever he's watching. How I know he's super invested is when he puts it away. And there was a moment when it was whenever the initial backstory happens, because he asked me, he was like, so are they ever going to address how he got his scar?
Oh.
And I was like, I hope so.
Yeah.
And then once it happened and he realized it was, my dad was like fully...
It's like...
Yeah,
me too. Even though it's like we already knew what was going to happen. I was like... like, oh my gosh.
I just think it's really smart, and that part of the animated show emotionally is retained perfectly.
Yes.
I think it's done essentially just as well, and that can be credited to the actors that are part of that.
Yes.
I want more of the main characters, and I want to like the main characters equally just as much.
Oh wait, I'm sorry. I just remembered whenever you were just saying like if they can add things or change things, there's one thing I remember from the animated series with Katara, and I remember a lot of people complaining about, like, I didn't realize it until some people like talked about it, whereas the fact that Katara just started complaining more about how it's like, you know, Team Avatar, it's like all this and that, and just her saying, I guess, complaining about her mom dying.
Oh yeah, I remember there was an episode that people like get really mad at her about, where she says that she cares more about her mom dying than Sokka, right?
Something like that. And I just remember, like, literally at the very end of the show, of course not at the very end, but like somewhere between in the middle and the end of the show, that Katara was just, I guess, in a you know, quote unquote annoying.
Yeah.
But I really, if they change that and make it where like it's just more appealing to her character, then that's could be.
I just like to see what they adapt and what they change. Yes. I am totally open to anything that they want to tell differently, as long as it makes sense narratively.
Somebody said Toph should be Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Like the original art for her.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be like this huge dude. I'm sure they'll get like some random unknown.
Yeah.
Like they did with all the other actors.
Yeah.
Wait.
Or it'll be Tom Holland.
You remember the meme that was going on that or Ryan Gosling as Black Panther?
Yeah, Ryan Gosling as Tom.
Right. Whoa, is it Ryan Gosling as Rosa Parks?
Oh my gosh, yes. Ryan Gosling.
Did you know that if you search my name and then you look up Daniel Parr at Inspo, I get a picture of Ryan Gosling.
Awesome.
Yeah. I learned that because somebody showed that to me.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
The most dangerous man in the world.
I am.
Yeah,
no, I'm not. I'm Paul Dune Atreides. And
I'm Paul Dune Atreides.
It's genuinely same overall thoughts as you. It's kind of funny because the internet thrives on hyperbole. People either think this is the worst thing in the world, or I saw a bunch of TikTok comments because I was looking through the Avatar announcement when they announced season 2 and 3. Everybody there was super excited about it.
Yeah.
And I personally, I enjoyed it. Would I want to see more of this? Yes. I know how it goes, so of course I'd want to see more of that. It's the same thing if they were going to go back for season 2, which they announced today that they are. I would like to see maybe more time spent on the effects as well, and more of the emotional engagement that you get from the main characters. And to be fair, you don't really start fully getting that until book 2 anyway.
Yes, that's true.
And I just hope that they can like follow through on that. It's like you said, if they continue on the same path of just being at this level of quality, at the end of the day, I will be like, well, I liked it.
I liked it, and you would just want to be wanting to watch the animated show more so than the live action.
It's why it's hard to be able to say like some of this is super smartly written, because I'm also kind of like, well, it's been written before, so do I compliment this version or?
Yes. I guess I understand how you're feeling whenever you said you watched the One Piece animated, and then you watched the live action one. I mean, you said you loved the live action one.
I do, and it also adapts things, and I'm not going to say it does anything better than the anime, because what it does is it takes inspiration from that and captures the energy and the feeling, and if anything is changed, everything that was changed, I loved. I was like, that makes sense. That's well done, because this is totally different. But Usopp in that, in the show, when it first starts, genuinely my biggest issue with the anime is that he starts off and he's kind of an incredibly annoying character. And I like his sort of, he's supposed to be the representation of like the cowardly lion, like that Wizard of Oz trope, or the person who, because he's based off of Aesop, who's a old, like Aesop's Fables. It's like this person named that tells these lies that are grand.
Okay.
And his whole idea is that they're supposed to come true, all the lies that he tells.
Yes.
and they change him to still be part of that, but instead of being super annoying, they make him like way cooler than he was in that. Or Sanji is one of the absolute best parts of, well, both shows. And what they change about that is that he's like really cool with women instead of, in the show he's just obsessed with women. In the live action one, he's both. It's just taking things that work, but also translating them in a way that feels organic and authentic to live action as well.
Yes. And
this one, I would say, doesn't do that entirely, but I think that it can.
I think so too. It's what we talked about earlier. I think if they just learn from their not mistakes. It's not. I don't think it's mistakes that they've done. It's just more of getting that feedback from what people noticed and what they saw, and worked on it and improved for the next few seasons. I can honestly say I would love the show.
Yeah.
So,
for now, there are parts of it that I loved. There are parts of it that I was kind of like, well,
that was okay.
Yeah. And then there are things that, I don't know, it's just kind of funny.
I didn't hate anything from the show where I was like, I hated that scene.
No, I'm grateful that I didn't hate any of it. It's already hard enough to adapt things into live action in the first place. The fact that, for me, I think personally Netflix has done it twice now is pretty remarkable, and I hope that they learn more going forward.
Is there any show that's animated that you would love to see live action? SpongeBob.
That'd be freaky. An animated show?
Yes.
Can I say Teen Titans? That other one?
Yeah, I mean, you can.
They never made a movie.
That's true. They haven't.
Oh, the DCEU.
We'll see what happens.
It'll be missed.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with the new one.
I'm excited for Superman.
I trust James Gunn.
Just Superman. That's all it's called.
Yeah, that's good. Drop Legacy.
I saw that.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
I thought it was... Oh, I know. Superman Lives is that Nicolas Cage thing.
Oh, like that documentary?
No, it's a documentary that...
Oh, okay.
The original movie was supposed to be called Superman Lives.
Yes.
And then in The Flash, where he's fighting the spider...
I don't want to talk about The Flash. I'm done with The Flash. They should... That's a movie where they should have just not put so much time and money and effort in terms of like its marketing.
Yeah. And Tom Cruise told me it was the best movie ever made.
Oh my god, Tom Cruise. What are you doing?
Everything he says is true.
Whatever, he believes in that. What's that religion?
I was about to say that's why you're going to be like, he's a Scientologist.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
I trust him.
It's like, hey, come into my church really quick. Just for like a minute, please.
Yes. And then spend your entire life savings and time and all.
I got invited to the Scientologist potluck, and now I live on a farm. Well, I liked it. Are we going to rate this out of 5?
Out of 5?
I know my score.
Oh, shoot. I would probably give this a 4.
A 4?
Probably a 4 out of 5.
I thought a 4 was great.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, then 3.5.
I'm not trying to correct you. I just...
Oh, well, I thought great... Okay, that'd be like 4.5 and 5. Well, what's 4?
4 stars means it's a great movie.
Okay.
4.5...
Wait, says who?
Means it's amazing.
Wait.
Or almost perfect.
What?
5 stars.
What did I say? 5 stars? It's amazing too?
5 stars means it's perfect or it's perfect to you.
To you?
Yeah, I saw you rate that one Selena Gomez movie 5 stars.
How dare you?
It's perfect to you, right?
To you? Stop saying it like that.
Monte Carlo.
So I have a joke, right?
Okay.
Ask me what type of... If I had to bend any type of element, what would it be?
If you had to bend any type of element, what would it be?
A front bender.
Yours doesn't make sense.
Really?
Yes.
Backbender, my butt. That's so dumb. I was even expecting. I can't wait till Daniel tells me what element. Backbender. What? Okay, but honestly, like, what would you choose?
I'd be the Avatar.
Dude, you're so dumb.
So,
I hate you sometimes.
Uh-oh. I told you I don't know. I'd either be water or fire.
Yeah, but I want you to pick one.
But I don't know. I can't have both. Is there nothing introduced in Korra where you can be both?
No, you can't have two elements. The only thing that's where I'm like, I choose earth bending because the lava bending
lava's
aspect.
Fire practically, right?
Yeah. And they do metal bending too, which I was like, whoa. I mean, they showed it in the animated series too when you see Toph.
Right.
Yeah, that was amazing.
But water, you can also like the whole blood bending stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
They're all like, if you genuinely, the smarter you are in the Avatar world, then the better you are with like, you're overpowered essentially.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's why we're Korra, where I think when they started expanding the world and they started getting to like the the spiritual aspects, that's where it felt like so much was going on and happening, where I can see why so many people are not into it as well, because it wasn't so grounded anymore.
Oh, I like to mention that Danny Pute's randomly in this from Community, and I freaked out because I didn't know he'd be in it.
I'm excited to see the movie. I seen it finish the last season of Community, and then
Oh, you haven't seen it?
It's literally because of the fact of many characters. I'm not. Yes, Chevy Chase is racist.
Yeah.
But I still enjoyed him in the show.
No, I think the final season is actually amazing.
Okay.
Season 4 is bad, right? It's the one season that's bad.
Which one was?
That's the one where what does happen in it? I do remember at a point that they turn into puppets. That's that season.
Okay, I do remember that.
Yeah.
And then Donald Glover's already gone, right? In the last season?
No? Yeah, he's not there by that point.
Okay. Sounds good then. But yeah, I'm excited to see the movie whenever they make it.
I think they announced within the next year. I thought they said that it was filming, or did they say that the script was done?
I think they said the script is done. I remember them saying they're waiting, or whenever Donald Glover can like make it, so they're working around his schedule.
Oh, because he's like the busiest
person in the world.
Yeah.
I want him to be Childish Gambino.
I would like that era of him to come back, because that music was revolutionary for me when I was younger, and his rap is amazing, and so is his more R&B based stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I miss it.
Yeah,
but
me too.
Bonfire is awesome. 3005. I would also give this 3.5 out of 5 stars. 4 stars would mean like that I love it, but I don't think that I do. I love the animated series.
Couldn't I say it's 4 stars and say I have its issues? Or no?
I thought we explained our rating scale on here in one of our episodes.
You know what? Fine, 3.5.
Erwin loved it. He gave it 4 stars.
I gave it 5 stars. I don't care anymore. 5 stars. It's the most perfect show I've ever seen in my life. I compare it to Sopranos. I haven't seen Sopranos.
That was my goal for this summer, was to watch The Sopranos.
Dude, it's gonna be a long one.
I don't think it's that long. It's like 80 episodes. It's long.
Dude, and like each episode's like an hour long, isn't it? Or like 40 minutes.
Maybe. I don't know.
Okay, well.
I know that it's one of those shows I've heard that you don't notice that though, and you'll be done with it before you know it.
I believe it. It's like Breaking Bad type of thing.
Yeah. Well, that one is always in conversation with like Breaking Bad.
Oh, The Wire.
The Wire, which I also want to see. The Sopranos.
Yes.
I'm gonna sneak Better Call Saul in there because that show deserves everything in the world.
I wish it won anything.
Would you ever like to have the award or like the record for most nominations for anything, which means you have the most losses in the world?
I can't.
Look, I love Succession like a lot.
Oh, I love.
Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But could they just have like, I don't know, just a one time, and
I think that's what sucks when you have like so many great television shows come out. It just sucks knowing that only one show can possibly get the most awards.
Did you see the edit of Bob Odenkirk at the Emmys each year not winning, and he gets sadder and sadder?
No,
as like
I would not want to watch that. That would make me
I didn't watch it on purpose, but it was like, look at this video. And he looked really sad.
Yeah. It's like whenever one of your students would come up to you randomly, like, "Hey, don't you love this person?" And then it's like a video of them like dead.
I wouldn't have that happen to me.
Okay, well, I just imagine
that's something our friend would do to you.
Oh, well, thanks. Now, right now I'm watching Curb Your Enthusiasm. I'm about to finish. There's 11 seasons.
Yeah, the final season's about to happen, I think.
I think it just came out. But
can you explain to me why Larry David punched Elmo on the news?
It sounds like something Larry David would do.
Is it part? I figured it was part of the show, like as a stunt thing.
I think it's just him. Like, he really does whatever he wants and gets away with it.
He is George from Seinfeld.
No,
yeah.
It's insane. Like, I remember when you told me that, and I was like, "Oh, okay." And then now watching the show, I'm like, I see it. It's so funny. I love it so much. He says the N-word in the show.
What?
No, there was this episode. It's where he's like finalizing his divorce.
Yeah.
And I forgot what he said. He was trying to explain it where it's like saying like, "No, I can say this word because the same like." Or he was saying like, "I can make call you like another bald man bald or whatever, right?"
Yeah.
Because I'm bald. So he's saying it's like it's the same way when a black man would say the and he wouldn't say the N word. He just explicitly say the actual word to another black man. Mm-hmm. And we're just like, I was like, whoa, what?
And is this from a recent season?
No, it was like a few seasons ago. Like I think it's like season 9, so probably like 7 or 6.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
All right, everyone.
Oh yeah, my bad.
Thank you for listening. If you could, we've noticed a recent pick up in viewership, and we really do appreciate it so much.
No, we don't.
If you could, please rate us 5 stars or whatever you think on
3.5.
No, please don't do that. Please don't do that.
Write in a comment too saying what's the difference between 3.5 and 4 stars
on Spotify. If you do that, we will personally come to your house and yell at it.
Show you a video of your favorite celebrity and how they died.
And how they died?
Yeah, that's what you were saying.
I didn't say that.
Oh, well.
And yell at each other about exactly this in front of you. You'll get the live experience.
Live from New York.
But it really does help us out. It helps the algorithm. It shows us to more people. What we have up next for you is
E=mc².
Albert Einstein.
Yeah.
I hope he wins the Oscar this Sunday.
Me too. Einstein will return.
I am excited to talk about Oppenheimer when we get to do that. We are going to be covering all of the Oscar wins after the Oscars on Monday. We're going to try and record and give our thoughts on what won, our opinions on those movies, because we've already seen at least half of them, I hope.
I've seen 4 of them out of how many are there? 9?
9 or 10.
Okay. Yeah, I'll be done with it. I'll for sure watch all the Best Picture winners.
Yeah.
At least, so.
And that'll be up next. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time.